There's a couple of new bodies of research that have demonstrated a couple of things that women can use to improve their insulin sensitivity a little bit more. What I mean by that is improve your carb tolerance, ability to utilize carbs properly and have them go where they're supposed to go. So we're gonna break them down. They're pretty simple and the research is pretty darn interesting and the mechanisms are really interesting. So let's break it down. After this video, I want you to go ahead and check out Thrive Market. I put a link down below in the description. So no matter what kind of dietary pattern you're following, whether it's ketogenic, paleo, fasting, whatever, there's something for everybody. So there is a link down below in the description for you to check them out. So you go there, you can select what kind of diet you're doing, and then from there you've got a bunch of different food categories. You can select food from there, etc., and then it gets delivered right to your doorstep. So it's what I use to fill up my pantry for my family and for myself. So highly recommend it. They're a big sponsor and supporter in this channel, so I'm very, very appreciative of their continued support and appreciative of your support, because when you support them, it helps make this channel do what we can do best. So check them out down below in the description. You can save 25% off your first order, as well as get a free gift when you use that link down below in the description. Okay, so this first one is super cool. This one's about pistachios, believe it or not. Now, funny thing is, pistachios are a relatively high carb nut. So normally I would say, okay, well, that's not something you want to overdo on keto, right? It's like you don't want to load up on it because I think a general serving is like 8 or 9 grams of carbohydrates. Now they usually have like 3 or 4 grams of fiber. So you're usually looking at 4 or 5 grams of net carbs. That's still pretty darn high in the grand scheme of things. Like that adds up really quick. Well, the good news is there's a study that was published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition that took a look at the effect of pistachios on insulin sensitivity. It was pretty wild. Now, this study took a look at 57 grams per day of pistachios for 4 months. 57 grams is not much at all. Now, what this did is it influenced epigenetic control. So it altered microRNA. It affected the microRNA at a genetic level so that insulin sensitivity improved. You see, epigenetics are, I've described this before in other videos, but basically you have your genes in specific like under lock and key in different areas of your body. Okay, you may go through your entire life without accessing a specific set of genes because maybe you never had to have them expressed or you never had sort of the lifestyle factors to influence that. But what happens is sometimes you have factors that come into play, like in this case, pistachios, that allow the expression of certain things by affecting microRNA, so at that epigenetic control level. So in essence, to make it oversimplified, you were able to like unlock an area that you weren't able to unlock before and express those genes. In this case, it's demonstrated that pistachios may improve insulin resistance when consumed frequently for a period of time via that pathway. That is tremendous whether you're doing keto or not, because everyone could use a little bit more insulin sensitivity to manage and process the food that we eat better. Now, within this same vein, there's an interesting study that took a look at the comparison between red meat and oily fish. Now, this in no way is to throw red meat under the bus. It is in some ways to promote the benefits of oily fish, but I guess that's just what the study has to say. So the British Journal of Nutrition took a look at 25 women. Now, these women had normal glucose levels and normal lipid panels, right? They were otherwise pretty healthy, right? Well, what they did is they put them on a narrowly prescribed diet, and they had one group eat red meat and they had one group eat oily fish. So it's pretty straightforward. Like that was really the only difference. Well, they found the oily fish group ended up having a significant improvement in insulin sensitivity compared to the red meat group. Does that mean that red meat is hurting insulin sensitivity? No, not necessarily. I think it means that the oily fish group has something additive that red meat does not. I don't think that red meat was necessarily adding something that was hurting them. I think the oily fish with the omega-3s and some of the other components and the thiamine was probably helping them out in that case. You have to remember that a lot of fish is rich in vitamin B1, thiamine, which helps out with glucose metabolism. So that could be a factor as well. But since this study was over the course of 8 weeks, it's probably not having to do with like a short-term effect of vitamin B1. That's something you would see immediately, not necessarily over long term. You don't become chronically deficient in vitamin B1 typically. It's usually a pretty acute thing with water loss or just electrolyte loss and things like that. So the point is, adding pistachios into the mix and adding oily fish could be a really good way to be able to process carbs a little bit better. It doesn't mean that you can go eat a truckload of Skittles, but it does mean that you're doing the best that you can and putting your best foot forward for good carbohydrate metabolism and metabolic flexibility. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel, and I will see you tomorrow.